corresponding with them. So SN ka bhi ye tha ki when heard that SN would be part of the panel, I just looked up his name on Facebook and realized that we were already friends, and that we had an exchange in the past, and that sort of brought back some memories. So nice to see that SN's done with his MPH.
It always is. In our, I think, second session, we had two psychologists, and they found out that one of them was the teacher of the other in the university. And the student remembered, obviously, but the teacher had a hard time, but she then ended up remembering it, and it was a really nice sort of an interaction between them.
Right.
So we're just waiting for Dr. Ifat, I hope.
Dr. Umair, are you in Pakistan now?
Yes, I actually came to Lahore to be with family, and then because of this lockdown, my hospital turned into an extended vacation. So I've been here for around 2 months, but I'm hoping to go back in a few weeks. Unfortunately, flights कोई resume नहीं हुई अभी तक पाकिस्तान से, so कोई बहुत ज़्यादा. So I'm trying to see if when I can get back, but inshallah by second week of June.
I also got done with my MPH in 2018.
Okay, that was the year that I got done. So
I just did it right after my bachelor's.
Right. We did have, so at least in the program that I was in, they had 2 tracks. One was for people with with some healthcare experience, whether that was clinical or otherwise, and that was a shorter course, I think, which is the one that I was in. And then they had a separate track for younger people, or under fresh college graduates. So did you guys also have a dual track program?
I'm not quite sure. I don't think they had such a variety, but obviously they let you choose according to your difficulty level what courses you would opt for. But some of them were compulsory, and the other ones you could choose.
Yeah. In my case, it's the main core is epidemiology statistics. It's a very typical part of the public health. Along with that, I was more inclined towards health policy, health systems. So that was a thing which I tied in. But of course, the main thing is epi, and I like that. It's something that serves as like the core of the main investigation as well. So I was more inclined.
So Asan, are you still in? Are you in Baltimore or?
Yeah, I'm right now in Baltimore.
Okay. How's Baltimore doing?
I am actually in the medical campus area, and I can tell you that I can't even find any person outside. It's always silent. All the, the activities have changed. The culture of Baltimore was very different when I came here, but over the past 2-3 months, I can't even see any person around here. And even if there are people, Johns Hopkins security just say, just leave the area, you can't sit around. So it's very different now.
Interesting.
Quite different from the scenario we have here in Lahore.
Yeah, I was seeing the videos. Like,
I was out on the. I mean, I had to go run an errand today. Actually, take my mom to school. She's a principal, and she had to do some work. So I took her, and I mean, it's business as usual. In fact, it's probably busier now than it was, before the pandemic.
Okay, she's here. Assalamualaikum.
Hello everybody.
Hi, कैसी हैं आप?
I'm good.
Okay, great. So I'll just ask Danish to get us live on Facebook now. Before we go live, Dr. Ifat, I was just speaking to Dr. Umair and Dr. Ehsan. that it's essentially going to be a question answer session, but I would really love it if you guys could make it interactive. If you have anything else to add while the other person is answering, then you can speak after them if you have something to add to that. So that would add value to it.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay. Okay, so we're live now. So I'll formally begin with the introductions. Hello, Assalamu alaikum everybody, and welcome to the fourth and the final session of the Health Hour, brought to you by Collabs. So thank you to Collabs for organizing this. Today our aim is to address some of the most pertinent uncertainties that people have in their mind these days due to obviously the pandemic. And we have a panel of three brilliant experts with us. First off, we have Dr. Ehsan Zille Ali. He's a physician, a trained epidemiologist from Johns Hopkins. He has numerous research publications to his name and focuses on capacity building in lower middle income countries. Welcome, Dr. Ehsan. Next up, we have Dr. Ifat Zafar Agha. She's the co-founder and COO of a telemedicine startup called Sehat Kahani. She has won numerous accolades for her services and is playing a vital role in the health system with the platform Sehat Kahani. Welcome, Dr. Ifat. Last but not the least, we have Dr. Umair Shakil. He's an MPH from Harvard, a physician and a clinical pathways manager at Day to Day Health in Boston, which is an M Health platform for conceptualized at MIT. Welcome to the panel, Dr. Umair, and to all of you. Obviously, thank you for taking time out. I'm sure this session will be really beneficial for everybody who is listening. Dr. Ifat, I think your mic is on mute. Yeah, sorry.
When you have children all around you, so mute is your only savior.
Well, I have a lot of colleagues who have children, so I can understand that whenever we have meetings, they're always on mute. But yeah, that's not an issue. That's not an issue at all. So I think I'll dive right into some of the questions that I have in mind. And I did a lot of research on this. I asked a few people on social media what are the main uncertainties they have in mind regarding the healthcare system in Pakistan, regarding the pandemic, and how a team of experts like you can answer that, right? So to begin with, I would like to ask Dr. Ifat, of course, we have seen a considerable rise in the e-health and m-health platforms in Pakistan, a lot of telemedicine facilities that have popped up because of this pandemic that we're facing. So if you could tell us a bit about how Sehat Kahani works and your thoughts on the sustainability of the numerous amounts of e-health platforms that have started in Pakistan now.
So thank you so much for getting me on this platform, and I think it's always exciting to talk about one's work. So Sehat Kahani is a telehealth or telemedicine platform where we essentially work on improving two problems. So the first problem lies with the supply. There are a large number of doctors when they graduate are women, but because of social and cultural norms, not all of them are able to continue. And practicing through a digital medium enables them to be able to give back to the society while maintaining the social or the cultural norms. So one area is that. And the second area, which essentially has grown considerably post-COVID due to the need, is the lack of healthcare accessibility. So at Sehat Kahani, we have two verticals. The first vertical entails creation of telemedicine clinics in low-income communities. So the idea is that people can walk into a physical space and be facilitated by a nurse intermediary who can then connect them to doctors online. बिकॉज कम्युनिटी में लोगों के पास स्मार्टफोन्स या तो होते नहीं हैं या अगर होते हैं तो अनफॉर्चुनेटली द वुमेन डोंट ओन देम दैट मच और दे स्टिल अ लैक ऑफ ट्रस्ट फैक्टर कि अच्छा फोन पे खाली डॉक्टर से हम कैसे बात करें so this is what we started off with, but then we realized that there's a big need for people like you and me who have a smartphone but who probably lack time to actually go to a healthcare facility. And that's when we started on the mobile application. This is pre-COVID, I would say, last year when we launched a mobile app. But I think with the current COVID scenario, हमने देखा ये कि the uptake suddenly grew. तो अगर एक दिन 50 या 60 consultations कर रहे होते थे, so now we are doing 700, 600, 700 consults in a day. So the need grew. And I think seeing the need, so many sporadic growth of so many telemedicine platforms actually came about. Because, you know, we're talking about a country with a population of 200 million plus people. So not one platform is enough to be able to cater to all of them. However, when you talk about sustainability, I think all the new companies which are coming abroad, they really need to make sure that the platforms or the tech is sustainable in terms of the quality. I think they really need to have a strong business model or a thought process behind it. किसको लेके कैसे चलना है, आगे sustainable कैसे करना है. Even for example, right now we are giving services free of cost, but we've obviously made that plan कि इसको finance कैसे करना है, and in the longer run, after June, once this application will not be available free for people, how do we work it out? Or for example, for corporations, we have a separate B2B model which is entirely paid. So I think not only in terms of the payment, but also the quality and also which medium people are using. एक unfortunately बहुत sporadic WhatsApp doctors की growth भी हो गई है. तो क्या WhatsApp doctors इतने authentic हैं? क्या वो authorized हैं to use that system to be able to prescribe? So I think ये questions बड़े अहम हैं. And you know, when people are accessing healthcare facilities, they really need to make sure that who are they accessing. So these are my thoughts on it.
I think that's really insightful. I mean, considering that the amount of information that's available outside and the amount of apps that you can look into, focusing on these quality issues that you talked about, I think would be one of the main factors that, you know, determine how sustainable they are. Having said that, Dr. Umair, since you also work for an mHealth platform, what comparisons would you draw between how things work in the US as compared to Pakistan, considering mHealth, considering internet connectivity? And while you talk about that, I have another question which I will ask once you're done with this, but I would really love if you could draw a little comparison because you have an experience from both ends.
Sure. Thank you, Noor. Before I answer your question, I just want to tag on a comment to Dr. Zafar's point about sustainability. You know, Dr. Zafar obviously has a provider and you know, the business sides of the business and of the argument. But I think the other piece to the puzzle of sustainability is from the customer's end as to how do, and you know, there's a very commonly, there's a very popular adage in marketing, you know, quality is defined by the consumer. So I think sustainability will depend really on whether consumers find that they are being given quality service through any telehealth or telemedicine platform.
Or whether the need even, you know, exists after this.
Certainly. And I think for that, you have to take into consideration what are cultural beliefs are around what quality is. I mean, in certain parts of the world, especially Western communities, where there's a huge concept of private, personal space, and that awareness around that concept. I mean, a lot of people would prefer actually not going to a hospital and seeing a patient provider over over a computer screen. But in our culture, where people like to actually be in presence and want to experience the humanistic aspect of medical care, not to say that that's not important, or that is very important, without judging that. You have to define whether consumers feel that they're getting a quality service. And then secondly, whether as a nation, whether Pakistanis consider COVID to be a chronic issue that we need to live with. Anybody who's been out on the roads these days can probably think that we've forgotten that COVID existed.
Even exists.
So I think right. So I think it really depends on how, as a country and as a nation, we sort of think of COVID as an acute versus a chronic problem, and how that sort of impacts our psyche. And then coming on to your question about the comparison between the Western world and Pakistan, I mean, we have to give Pakistan some credit. I mean, the telemedicine and e-health platforms have been around in the Western world for decades, much longer than in Pakistan and the developing world. So there's been a lot of they benefit from incumbency. They benefit from people having had time to experience them, try them, and then buy into them. There's that. Then secondly, we obviously have, we don't have the same hardware or technical issues there. Internet, high-speed internet, smartphones, computers, internet, they're almost ubiquitous. That's not to say that it's not the same in Pakistan. So obviously there are issues with, even with being able to access telemedicine platforms in Pakistan. So I think that's.
I think access is one of the biggest problems.
Right. Right, but on the flip side, one I would say ease that you will find in Pakistan, but does not necessarily exist in the Western world, is there is I would say an overabundance of regulation, which can sometimes make it difficult for these businesses to start off, and there's almost an overabundance of litigation as well, which can be a good or a bad thing. And that sort of deters a lot of people from utilizing these platforms. In Pakistan, this can be a good or a bad thing. I mean, the bad being, there's no accountability. So a patient may see a physician over a television, over a computer screen, and not necessarily be, ensured of, providing valuable service or even authentic or accurate clinical advice. So in that regard, I think the system of telemedicine and e-health is much more established in the Western world, and because of that, people are much more aware and much more I would say the acceptability is much higher. That said, we have our own set of problems. Like I said, we have a lot of regulation which we don't have in Pakistan, and then we have a lot of other geography specific problems.
It's interesting that you've talked about this legislation and accountability, which is focusing towards what my next question for Dr. Ehsan is. Considering what the notification has been from the government regarding the lockdown and how we're taking it as a nation, how do you think it will impact the current situation or the statistics as far as the number of cases are concerned, or how do you see things changing?
So thank you very much. First, I would take a little follow-up from Dr. Umair's point that it is true that somehow there is more understanding about e-health in the Western world. And in Pakistan, there is a lot of adaptation going on. And Corona has just not brought adaptation to our social and behavioral settings. But one of the bigger things is that while a major population is still understanding this problem, there is fairly a large population which are not ready to understand this thing. Keeping in mind that the numbers we already have, we can assume that, and on epidemiological basis, I can tell you that it's not going anywhere soon. just add on to the lockdown situation, I can also add that this will only increase the number of cases over the time. Now, there are different metrics to see this thing. One of the major things is that the cases we are seeing on the screen, these are the reported cases. And those reported cases only come when somebody is being diagnosed. And that gives us another picture that is of the testing capacity. So there are multiple levels that led to the final picture which we are seeing. And I can tell you that, and it's with scientific evidence and with the predictive modeling we use to just gauge that what's going on, there are way more number of cases than we are seeing right now. So with the lockdown getting easy over the time, with some true lockdown plus a false lockdown, and somewhere in between, the things have been more complicating. I would say that there will be much more cases over the time, depending how the virus is mutating or changing. Now, there's a spin-off to this whole thing. At times, the virus can get easy, as in layman terminology, if I say कि उसके जो effects होंगे, जो human interaction है वो reduce हो जाएगी, और उसी के दूसरी तरफ ये भी probability है कि that will increase. We have no idea. There are multiple studies that show that the strains vary, new strains are coming. The strain of US and Wuhan is different. I actually came across one of the non-peer-reviewed articles from Pakistan that said that the strain in Pakistan is different than that of these two countries, China and Pakistan, China and America. But how it's going to impact? एक आम आदमी जब बाहर जा रहा है तो वो expose हो रहा है. जो exposure और उसका outcome है, that would stay the same. अब वो कितना ज़्यादा outcome होगा, कितना कम होगा, that has to be measured. That is entirely a different metric. लेकिन for now, keeping in mind how the government is reacting, we are not happy, and I'm sure the public health community is not happy with the way things are going, and especially the way people are reacting. बहुत ज़्यादा वीडियोस वायरल हो रही हैं पाकिस्तान से, और हम यहाँ पे बैठ के देखते हैं कि it makes me sad कि around the world the lockdown was imposed for a reason, और उस lockdown की proper जो एक product थी वो ये थी कि we had to contain the virus. We are not able to do so. So for the answer to your question, that what would happen with this lockdown coming along with the government, I think there will be much more burden, and we as the nation, as Pakistanis, we should be ready for it, because अगर अभी नहीं हम सोचेंगे, अभी भी time है, you know, it's never too late. You can step in and you can control, but overall if you see कि क्या होगा, हमारे health system इतना robust नहीं है, हमें अपनी limitations देखनी पड़ेंगी, और it's the right time. अभी भी मैं कहूँगा कि देर नहीं हुई है. I actually was following through all the information that was coming from Pakistan. इतनी testing capacity बढ़ी है, इतने लोग diagnose हुए हैं, but reality जो होती है वो numbers आपको एक measurement दे सकते हैं. Eventually, we need to see what is actually happening in the real world.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your input, Dr. Ehsan. I think that was very important, and I'm sure, I think it's really shocking even for me. A lot of people who are so well educated and they're fully aware of what the situation is, still they're going out and shopping like there's, probably not going to be another Eid. And there, jokes roaming around that if you continue like this, there probably won't be another Eid. So, but having said that, Dr. Ifat, I would like to refer to you now. I went out yesterday and I was out to get some medicines, and I saw that a lot of people were wearing masks, but this is how they were wearing it, right? Over here, or their nose was out, right? So to begin with, there were a lot of there was a lot of news, and there were a lot of studies that were saying, okay, if you're healthy and you don't have the symptoms, you don't have to wear a mask, or if you're not in close contact with somebody who has the symptoms, you don't have to wear the mask. But now a lot of people are coming out and telling that, okay, wearing a mask is going to reduce the probability of you catching the virus. And with people considering it probably like a jewel or something which they're not wearing properly. What would you have to say? What is the correct way to deal with it? Do you have to or not have to wear a mask? If you have to, what are the benefits of it? And how do you see things, considering that this is how people are following the SOPs?
Yeah. So I think yes, you're very right. Fortunately, Pakistan, even though there are they have tried to develop so many SOPs and so many documentations are in place, people are not following it, obviously. So the masks are essential. Yes, there were studies initially by the WHO, or there were things that they initially quoted that it can be safe to a certain extent, but there are two things why it seems to be very important. Not only does it protect you, but essentially the idea is that a mask, particularly for those people who might be carriers, asymptomatic carriers, who are not essentially having any symptoms of COVID, this prevents them spreading it to other people, particularly. So आप अपने आप को तो प्रोटेक्ट कर ही रहे हैं, बट इससे ज़्यादा अगर गॉड फॉरबिड आप कैरियर हैं तो वो फिर आप दूसरे लोगों में फैलाने से बचेंगे. I think I would like to comment here that there's a lot of focus on wearing gloves, on disinfecting the spaces correctly, disinfecting those things which are being used by a lot of people. For example, छोटी सी चीज हम ले लेते हैं, डोर नॉब्स की हम बात करें. अगर हम जब पब्लिक ट्रांसपोर्ट ओपन हो जाएगी तो the handles which people are holding, अगर हम हॉस्पिटल्स में जाते हैं या बैंक्स में जाते हैं, so those facilities, their door knobs वगैरह वगैरह. But fortunately I don't see any of that being followed. I think with coming up and with so many shops opened, while they all say कि business करना ज़रूरी है, they're running out of the money that they need in order to survive and sustain. But then I think they also need to make sure that how are they ensuring that their shops or their places are disinfected. So I think ये बड़ा एक अहम चीज़ है which no one is talking about. I think most importantly media is not talking about. So we all media में people are going, taking videos, taking pictures of places where SOPs are not being followed. But why not create some programs which constantly train and teach people कि आपको इस तरह SOP follow करना है और आपको ये करना है और आपको ये करना है, because that is what will remain in people's minds. जब आप बार-बार एक चीज चलाते रहेंगे तो eventually लोग ये सीखेंगे. I think ये बड़ा ज़रूरी है कि मीडिया को इस चीज के लिए इस्तेमाल करें जो हम मेरे ख्याल से नहीं कर रहे.
Thank you so much for that. I think that's a very pertinent point. Media का I think role काफी important होता है, and I do see a lot of billboards and a lot of ads, and even on the telephone when you call somebody you hear that message, but I think maybe it's not enough for people and they need constant reiteration of the message. Having said that, Dr. Umair, I didn't ask you this before, but I think it's relevant now to ask you this. We see health systems all over the world struggling. So even first world countries are struggling to keep up with the facilities that they're providing to their patients. And considering the situation of the healthcare system in Pakistan, how do you think things will change post pandemic once inshallah all of this is over, everything is done? Do you think the healthcare system will look different, or what are the sort of blows that it might have to face? Sorry, your mic is on mute.
Yes, sorry about that. Yes, so I mean, the healthcare systems everywhere in the world are under a lot of tremendous pressure, and Pakistan is no difference. It has to be said that we didn't really have a good capacity to provide high quality healthcare to begin with. So so unfortunately there's not a lot that we can lose. We really were really at the bottom when it comes to per capita availability of doctors, nurses. I mean, I think the total count of ventilators in the country was around 3,000, I think, at last count.
I think even less than that.
Even less than that, right? So I think we're talking about a system that has chronically been fatigued and has not been invested in, and does not really have the ability to, mount a resistance to this pandemic to begin with. And certainly it can get worse. What I do find very unfortunate is that, I've not been to hospitals per se while I've been visiting Pakistan for obvious reasons, but just sort of interacting with my friends who are working here, it's very unfortunate that I don't see anybody rising to the occasion. When it's often that you improve in response or in reaction to a challenge, and it would be great if we could have thought of COVID as a challenge and sort of risen to respond to it. But I have not seen that happen. I've not seen, putting aside public hospitals, even private hospitals have not really sort of embraced this challenge as a means to improve themselves. I mean, the SOPs have not been followed in some of the very, I would say, upper crust hospitals in Lahore. I don't want to take names, but I went to one when I first came here, and they weren't really following any SOPs. So I think that's the biggest issue. I don't think people are recognizing this opportunity to improve the healthcare system, to incorporate some sort of resilience into it. Just adding to what Essen said earlier, I mean, there are three main indicators that have been suggested as prerequisites for resuming or easing lockdowns in any country. First of them are that, the rates of your infections or positive cases need to be going down for a few weeks at least. So there has been a downward trend. The second is that your hospitals or facilities should be able to treat all patients, without being overwhelmed. And the third is that you should have the capacity to test any symptomatic patient, who has reason to believe that they could be infected. And on neither of those three accounts, is Pakistan ready to be reopened or was ready to be reopened, unfortunately. Chalo, मान लिया कि ये तो chronic मसले हैं. These are, we're not going to completely come up with new hospitals and new, I would say, habits overnight. But then there are there are some things that we can still do to sort of contain the damage. And I was reading an article in the New Yorker today that was by Atul Gawande, very famous public health expert. And what he was talking about, he was giving the example of how the Boston community, a city that I very familiar with, how the Boston community has controlled the spread, where even though in comparison to a lot of other similarly densely populated cities. And what they've really done is there are four things that they've done. One is hygiene measures, which are as simple as washing your hands 5 times a day. Secondly is screening everybody who is symptomatic or has reason to believe they could be infected. Third is distancing. And the fourth is masks. It's as simple as that. And it's funny, but there's research to believe that if you have all four, it works great. But even if you're lacking just one of them or not, if you're missing one piece of the puzzle, the whole thing, falls apart. That is what we need to be doing. Frankly, and it's interesting, if you look at these 4 measures, these are not high cost or high resource intensive measures, other than the testing part of it. But that said, if you are following the other 3 measures, you will not need tremendous amount of testing. If people are following other SOPs and you're not having a lot of community transmission of the disease. So, I do not think that this is a huge resource problem, because we have seen, especially for Pakistan, because we've been lucky. I guess, let me rephrase that. I don't mean to say that, this doesn't require resources or that we are a resource rich country, but what I'm saying is that the solution,
that there's
or
more
at least
to it,
there's more to it. And we could have gotten more control over it without having had to invest a lot of resources in it. So it's not a because the solutions, or at least the things that we need to do, are not very resource intensive. It's
and
all
also
about,
I think depends a lot on individual accountability, right? You have to take the responsibility for it, and if one person is not taking that responsibility, the amount of burden they can create on the entire healthcare system is, it's surprising how one person can affect the whole situation.
I mean, I want to just give you one anecdote, which sort of might tell you how I mean, again, I don't mean to use this as an example for everything that's happening out there, but I mean, I know of a resident or a trainee in a public hospital whose mother or whose parent had very, as much as I could tell, had very specific signs of being of the COVID infection, and she herself was a physician, so she had quarantined herself at home, and but after a week without having tested negative, the son had to go back to the hospital to essentially take care of patients. And when I spoke to him about it, and I was frankly, was very, very disparaging about it, about him going back without having tested negative or having stayed in quarantine. He, his reason to justify his behavior was, my professor, my supervisor, sort of threatened me to terminate me, basically, if I didn't show up for work. So what I'm saying is that responsible behavior has to come down from the top. So when in a particular country on the other side of the Pacific, when the president doesn't wear a mask when he's visiting a hospital, that sends a very wrong message to the rest of the country. And I think similarly in Pakistan, we don't really have good leadership, or at least good education coming from the top. Our prime minister has sort of come on television quite a few times, but it would be great if he had sort of taken maybe more effective messaging and communication on educating our population, which frankly, the messaging and the communication and that education that is critical to reforming our behavior and stopping this, at least in its track, has been lacking. So I think that is really what's been the biggest issue here.
But I think all of this is very useful information, but I think one of the most basic questions that a lot of people still have in their mind, and I think it should be answered by now, but I think people don't read up that much as far as research is concerned, as far as, reliable sources are concerned. They just rely on social media for whatever news that they're getting. So this question I would like to ask you, Dr. Ehsan, since you're an epidemiologist. People still have this one basic question in their mind: how did the virus actually spread so much, and it changed itself, it mutated, and then it went across countries? How do you see the thread moving? And what would you say in the most layman possible terms to make people understand why this is such a huge issue? Because initially there was also a debate that, more people die of the influenza virus than they do of this. So then why is this such a big issue, right? So how would you answer those questions?
So the first thing is, whenever you compare the infectious material, you can only compare in terms of for your own learning. If you start comparing corona with flu or corona with SARS, it's only giving you a global picture. It is not telling that this particular virus is more infective or less infective. It's just for just numbers purposes. अब आती है बात कि how well it is doing within a community. Virus इंसान के बाहर है तो कुछ नहीं है. It's not a living entity. It won't harm anything. It's not like that somebody is going to sniff it off. But once it is inside the body, of course, उसकी पूरी chemistry change होती है. That becomes a part of our body. और जो इस virus के साथ जो major problem है वो ये आ रही है कि it's very aggressive. It's just not aggressive within the body, but it's also aggressive in a way that it can spread. अब हर virus का जो infectious spread है, it depends and it varies. इसका बहुत ज़्यादा है. ऐसे है कि अगर आपके पास एक बंदा एक कम्युनिटी के अंदर बिठा दें, एक ग्रुप के अंदर बिठा दें, तो इसका स्प्रेड बाकी और वायरसेस से ज़्यादा है. और ना सिर्फ ज़्यादा है, बल्कि इसकी जो पैथोफिजियोलॉजी अगर आप देखें, जो इसकी आम लफ्ज़ों में, if I say the chemistry of it is aggressive in a way that it rapidly increases the number within the body. और उसकी वजह से ये आपके पास कुछ फोकल एरियाज हैं जिनको ये टारगेट करता है. उसमें एक बिल्कुल different biology, I won't not go into that detail, how it's affecting the respiratory level, how it's involving various different biology variants it's affecting. But for now, I would say कि of course अगर आपने इसको compare करना है किसी और वायरस के साथ, in terms of numbers it would be fine, but हम इसको एक सॉलिटरी एक एग्रेसिव एंटिटी के तौर पे लेंगे। इसको हम ये नहीं कहेंगे कि उसकी वजह से होता था। You know, if you start comparing, of course, there will be many viruses which are less aggressive than this, and it would just ease you out saying कुछ नहीं होता, वो तो पहले एक वायरस था। अब आता है कि इसकी स्प्रेड कितनी है और किस तरह हो रही है। इसकी स्प्रेड टेक्निकली हर जगह पर हो रही है और हर तरह से हो रही है जहां जहां पब्लिक स्पेसेस हैं। सोशल डिस्टेंसिंग जो था वो हमारे पास बहुत बेसिक चीज थी, जिस तरह डॉक्टर मैर ने कहा था कि हमें रिसोर्सेज से ज्यादा एक राइट प्लानिंग की जरूरत थी। इफ वी हैड द राइट प्लानिंग वी वुड हैव कंटेन्ड इट वेरी अर्ली। अगर हम इसकी बेसिक स्प्रेड इन एपी टर्म्स देखें तो ये सिर्फ हाथ धोने से, सोशल डिस्टेंसिंग से, मास्क पहनने से कंट्रोल किया जा सकता था, और हमने उस चीज के ऊपर रुझान नहीं दिया। वी शिफ्टेड टू सेइंग दैट वी नीड मोर रिसोर्सेज। ऑफ कोर्स जब एक दफा पेशेंट्स आपके पास एक नंबर ऑफ पेशेंट्स इंक्रीज हो जाएगा तो ऑफ कोर्स दे हैव टू गो टू द हॉस्पिटल, यू नो, और आपके पास इतनी कैपेसिटी उस तरह नहीं है। तो पहला जो आपका लेवल था व्हिच वाज प्रिवेंशन, हमने उसको ही फोकस नहीं किया, स्पेशली इन पाकिस्तान। और शायद अब पूरी दुनिया को हम उधर देखेंगे कि मेजॉरिटी ऑफ द कंट्रीज हैव सीन लाइक इट्स ओके, इट्स फाइन। Many countries started stepping into herd immunity at a very early stage, और उन्होंने एकदम एक स्पाइक आपको दी। वो एक बिल्कुल एक डिफरेंट डायमेंशन थी किस तरह उन चीजों को देखा गया। अभी भी आई वाज रीडिंग के हाउ Pakistan's healthcare systems and their policies are governing that they are now leading into herd immunity thing, which is a totally a different thing। और क्या आपका मुल्क तैयार है या नहीं तैयार है, उसके अंदर हम कौन सी चीजों को देख रहे हैं, whether we are relying on infecting 70% of the population or a 90% of the population or somewhere in between, और हम किन चीजों को देखेंगे, क्या इनको देखेंगे या नहीं देखेंगे, because you know it's a new entity, it's new for everybody, it's new for the physicians, new for the researchers and new for the community। अगर आपको पहले information थी, पहले सिर्फ फ्लू की थी, आपको बाद में कुछ नए जो वायरसेस आउटब्रेक्स थे स्पेशली पाकिस्तान में डेंगू के साथ हुई थी, तो हमें उन चीजों का पता था। लेकिन जिस चीज का हमें पता ही नहीं है उसमें ओवर द टाइम वी आर आल्सो इम्प्रोवाइजिंग। फॉर एग्जांपल इन स्टार्ट इट वाज कि ओनली द पीपल हु आर सफरिंग और हु आर बीइंग डायग्नोस्ड शुड वेयर द मास्क, लेकिन ओवर द टाइम द न्यू रिकमेंडेशन सेड नहीं, you should wear whenever you're going out।
Obviously things are constantly changing, right? Because everybody is learning as they go.
Yeah। और as we go along we would also be having more evidence। अभी भी हम जहाँ पे खड़े हैं we are nowhere near knowing what virus is। अभी भी we are shifting more towards creating vaccine or maybe possible treatment plans। लेकिन अगर आप इसको scientific तरीके से देखें तो इसका spread है। अगर कोई ये सोच रहा है या कहते हैं, I find these things funny on videos on all those viral videos from Pakistan saying that हमने तो नहीं कोई केस देखा, ये क्या चीज है, this is not pandemic, this is a plandemic, इसके you know, those sorts of things are only creating a problem not for the government, for the community, but you can even see this is going to impact our economy, is going to impact our country at many different levels। अभी तो वो फेज में हम एंटर ही नहीं हुए कि हम देखना शुरू करेंगे। और इन सारी चीजों को हम 3 चीजों से कंट्रोल कर सकते थे, हाथ धोने से, मास्क पहनने से और सोशल डिस्टेंसिंग से। और हम उधर से निकल के we have shifted to an entirely a different problem। I wouldn't comment on how things are going on in other countries because every country has their own kind of social understandings, their own cultural things। शुरू में जब था तो I was reading के how bad it is that we can't even handshake our brothers, like वो एक cultural चीज थी। फिर बुजुर्गों से मिलना है तो झुक के नहीं अब हम मिल सकते because this is another things, you know, there are different sorts of things we are doing। लेकिन as we go along we are learning, and in terms of epidemiology I can tell you it's aggressive। We don't have exact number saying कि एक बंदा इतने लोगों को करता है। In fact, yeah, we have means, we have averages, we talk about it in numbers। लेकिन एक आम आदमी के लिए ये है, उसने दूर रहना है, उसने मास्क पहनना है और उसने हाथ धोने हैं। और जिस तरह डॉक्टर इफ़त ने कहा था कि gloves is just becoming a problem now, क्योंकि gloves is an extra thing। उसकी कई रिकमेंडेशन में था, अब तो लोगों ने पूरे सूट्स पहन के बाहर जाना शुरू कर दिया है, जो कि असल में फिजिशियंस के लिए सिर्फ रिकमेंडेड थे। जो अब सब कुछ चेंज होने लग गया. Instead of changing, I think there is another important thing which we need right now from Pakistan is the right healthcare leadership, which is very important. You know, Khan Sahab, I was following each and everything from February onwards. वो आए, उन्होंने कुछ बातें कही, फिर उसके बाद health minister साहब आए. Of course they are doing it. We are not doubting their intentions of planning everything. But for now, I am like, there is a better leadership that is being required right now. और यहाँ पे you need a repetition. You need to do this again and again, ताकि हर बंदे को पता चले. इसकी बड़ी typical जो मैं थोड़ा सा add on करूँगा, it's a bit deviation from the main epi, but commenting on the health leadership, the best example was given by Taiwan. कि वहाँ पे उनके vice president kept on coming and kept on reporting the cases every day. What happens is that media gets attention, and with media gets a bigger attention of the population. और उससे एक पूरा एक magnify होता है effect, वो बिल्कुल different होता है. It starts from one virus, it goes into the community, and then it's the responsibility of the community to react. Health leadership इस पूरे scenario को देखती है, and then they react accordingly. अगर वो देखें कि अगर हमारे पास इतनी capacity है, ये हो रहा है, ये नहीं हो रहा है, you know, you have to gauge accordingly. And as the time goes along, we are learning. We are nowhere near ending it, and it's with the current evidence we have, हमने कहीं पे इसको खत्म नहीं किया. अभी जो नई जो एक I would say a new phase that is coming out of this pandemic is that it's just not one pandemic. There will be many follow-ups of this pandemic in various different forms. I was reading one of the articles saying there could be a COVID-20 now. क्योंकि वायरस एक दफा बाहर आया है तो वायरस म्यूटेट कर सकता है. वायरस पहले सिर्फ ये था कि इट वाज द पार्ट ऑफ बैट्स, उधर तक रखा, अब इंसानों के ऊपर आया. अभी नई स्टडी कह रही है कि इंसानों से अब ये पेट्स में जा रहा है. सो इट विल स्टे हियर. हाउ विल इट बिकम एंडेमिक और हाउ लॉन्ग विल इट स्टे अ पैंडेमिक, वी डोंट नो. इसका किसी के पास आंसर नहीं है, बिकॉज वी आर लर्निंग एज वी आर गोइंग अलोंग, एंड आई होप कि हम इसको बेहतर तरीके से और सीख सकें. लेकिन वी नीड राइट मेजर्स, और वहां पे हम आप जो भी लोग हैं जो who have taken this initiative of educating the people, we need to do an extra effort that this is the right information and we can control it. ईद की शॉपिंग बाद में हो जाएगी, जान पहले है, सेहत पहले है.
नहीं, definitely I completely agree with that. और it's really interesting. अभी कल परसों ही मैं भी इस बारे में बात कर रही थी that you brought up herd immunity, right? तो अब पता नहीं इनसेंसिटिव ही ना लगे, लेकिन मेरे भाई ने एक ऐसे जोक क्रैक किया, कहते हैं कि मतलब जिस हिसाब से लोग बाहर जा रहे हैं, खान साहब को चाहिए कि कंट्री को जो है एज एन एक्सपेरिमेंट फॉर हर्ड इम्यूनिटी प्रेजेंट कर दें दुनिया को, और कहें कि हम रिसर्च करते हैं, आप हमारे कर्जे माफ कर दें. ठीक है, तो मतलब पीपल आर नॉट टेकिंग द मेजर्स सो सीरियसली, देन माइट एज वेल गेट समथिंग आउट ऑफ इट. ये उसने ना कहा. तो बट इट मेड मी थिंक कि भाई मतलब ठीक है, हाउ डॉक्टर रिफित आपसे मैं ये सवाल पूछूंगी, हाउ इफेक्टिव और व्हाट इज जस्ट योर जनरल टेक on the concept of herd immunity, and how far do you think it can be implemented, or is it even good enough, or what's your take on it?
So बहुत आम ज़बान में herd immunity essentially अगर मैं explain करूँ तो ये वो concept है कि एक infection आए जो in a way हर किसी को affect कर दे, उसमें से कुछ लोग उस disease का शिकार हों, जो carriers हो जाए, eventually it's spread all across. That is, you know, अगर एक आसान हम ज़बान में बात, बहुत सारे countries ने इसको try करने की कोशिश की. New Zealand was one of them, Sweden was one of them. They were trying to do that. It's still very early to comment that for a country like Pakistan is going towards herd immunity the right solution or the right option. Because again, we need to see here that those countries who are or who were experimenting herd immunity have a very different healthcare setup altogether. तो ये वो ममालिक हैं जो बहुत सोच समझ के उस तरफ जा रहे हैं, जिनके पास हेल्थ केयर प्रोफेशनल्स की एक तादाद मौजूद है, जिनके पास हेल्थ केयर फैसिलिटीज वेंटिलेटर्स और ये सारी सहूलियात मौजूद हैं कि इन केस एक लार्ज नंबर ऑफ पॉपुलेशन अफेक्ट होती है, सो दे आर एक्चुअली रेडी टू cater to it. For a country like Pakistan, I am actually in very crude words scared that how would this turn out if this really spreads to that extent in Pakistan, जिस तरह से UK में फैला या जिस तरह से स्पेन में फैला. गॉड फॉरबिड अगर ऐसी सिचुएशन हो जाती है तो I can't even speculate कि ये आगे क्या होगा. एंड यहाँ पे मैं छोटा सा एग्जांपल देना चाहूँगी या कमेंट करना चाहूँगी. मेरी पार्टनर डॉक्टर सारा के वालिद साहब की थोड़ी तबीयत नासाज है आजकल, तो उनका आखिर जाना हुआ है 2-3 दफ़ा. या मेरे बहुत सारे जानने वाले हैं who actually are working actively in the current COVID crisis scenario in Indus Hospital, and the stories that they are telling are horrific. And the kind of crisis those doctors are facing on a daily basis, the kind of cases they're seeing. It's unfortunate that for those doctors, they're actually looking at vacating a bed just to identify कि अच्छा ये अगर बेड वेकेट होता है, गॉड फॉरबिड किसी की एक्सपायरी से भी, तो शायद कोई ऐसा पेशेंट आ जाए जो सर्वाइव कर जाए. तो हम इस टाइम बड़ी क्रिटिकल सिचुएशन से गुजर रहे हैं in terms of the health care and the challenges that those people are facing. I think हम सबने देखा कि इंग्लैंड में NHS में बहुत सारे पाकिस्तानी डॉक्टर्स also ended up losing their lives. We saw many young doctors who lost their lives in this battle. So अब ये वो कहना जो initially बहुत बात आ रही थी कि जी बच्चों में या बूढ़ों में इसकी probability ज़्यादा है, the other age groups are spared, that's not the case anymore, unfortunately. And बिल्कुल जिस तरह Dr. Ehsan कह रहे थे, the virus is constantly changing. So while some people died because of pneumonia, a lot of them died because of blood coagulation disorders. Many of them underwent issues जिसमें उनका बहुत ज़्यादा blood coagulate कर गया, या अगर मैं regular terms में explain करूँ कि आपका blood इतना thick हो गया कि आपके organs failure में चले गए, तो in a way आपके body में blood जमना शुरू हो गया. So the virus is acting in very different ways in different countries and different genes and different nationalities. So it's I think where are we in the next 2 years? No one really knows. This is my comment.
Yeah, I think that's very correct. I mean, obviously things are changing, and nobody's sure of what will happen next, but it's all probabilities that you can make. Dr. Umair, आपसे मैं इसी बारे में एक सवाल पूछूंगी. Since you have sort of an experience in research as well, अब इस तरह से है कि बाकी मुल्कों में रिसर्च की बहुत वैल्यू है, ठीक है. अ लॉट ऑफ रिसर्च, मतलब रिसर्च को जितनी वैल्यू दी जाती है, आई एम नॉट श्योर बाकी कितनी चीज़ों को उतनी दी जाती है कि नहीं. कमिंग फ्रॉम यूनिवर्सिटी, 4 साल की यूनिवर्सिटी मैंने यहाँ पे की और फिर उसके बाद मैं बाहर पढ़ने गई, मुझे खुद इतना बड़ा डिफरेंस फील हुआ, द अमाउंट ऑफ इम्पोर्टेंस दे गिव टू रिसर्च. तो क्या आपको लगता है कि कंसिडरिंग दैट दिस पेंडेमिक हैज हैपेंड, obviously पूरी दुनिया में तो बहुत रिसर्च चलना शुरू हुई है. I see a lot of new fundings coming through, a lot of new projects coming through, and a lot of people are working towards new researches for this virus particularly. But how do you think Pakistan will need to change the importance it gives to public health initiatives, the public health research areas? And do you think that the government or the population will realize that curative measures or preventive measures are different, and perhaps research may lead to more effective preventive measures for these viruses? What is the importance of research, do you think, in a country like Pakistan? Sorry, Dr. Umair, आपका mic फिर से mute है.
Sorry. Yes, Noor, thank you for that. It's a very pertinent question, especially because COVID is new. We don't, we have some precedents for it. The coronaviruses are a well-known group of viruses, and we have some knowledge about them, how they behave. But obviously, this strain is very new, and how it behaves. And as Dr. Zafar mentioned, some of the clinical sequelae that we're seeing have never been seen before. And so we are learning new things every day. So it's all the more important that we learn and we adapt, and as we've seen, how messaging from public health experts, WHO, the CDC, has changed over the last few months, and that's basically on the, based on the fact that we've seen this virus and we've seen it change its course, we've seen it cause different clinical effects, and we've had to change and adapt. So उस लिहाज से पाकिस्तान के लिए और किसी भी मुल्क के लिए ये बहुत ज़रूरी है समझना कि हमारा जो strain है, there's enough research out there to that we know without a doubt that the strain is the same. There's no separate strains, at least not in Pakistan. But it's really important. Okay, how is that virus sort of impacting our people? I mean, at the end of the day, Pakistan, is a different ethnic, racial, genetic, genotype compared to the US, and that is also why we've seen in some cases the clinical expression of this disease being different in Pakistan as opposed to other countries, or in certain developing world, in the developing countries. So it's very important for us to study what's happening here, why it's happening, and how can we deal with those specific problems. We've not seen as much coagulopathy here as we've seen, in certain other. I mean, again, I will preface my statement by saying we don't know the numbers yet, and I don't want to speak from a misinformed perspective. But the clinical presentation is different and it depends on both your general health as well as your genotype, your ethnic differences, and your racial specific genetic composition. So it's very important for us to understand कि हमारी specific population में how is it impacting, what are the symptoms. UK के अंदर anosmia, which is loss of smell, has been shown to occur in a higher frequency as opposed to some other climates. So we need to see कि हमारे यहाँ symptoms कौन से are pathognomic or are more specific to this problem, and then communicate that to people. Because we may be, if you're borrowing research from other countries and telling our people कि जी अगर आपको सांस लेना की दुश्वारी है तो आप आपको COVID हो सकता है, but if that is not what's happening to our people, then we are giving people the wrong message. So it's very important for us to take stock of the clinical presentation that's occurring here, communicating that to people. And as you mentioned, it's also important कि हम and again, before we can import treatments and before we can import corrective measures, we also need to sort of see how those treatments have done or will do or will perform in our population, because every population responds differently to different treatments and different medication and different therapeutic interventions. So easily I will say that the government of Pakistan has recently engaged in a vaccine trial, I believe, with China. So I mean that's definitely heartening to know कि हमारे यहाँ पर भी, I mean I'm not in favor of offering people from disadvantaged backgrounds up for research just because they're guinea pigs, or because they're easy and vulnerable, and that's not the case. But if this is done with the right intention, if we have the right IRB or ethical considerations taken care of, then I think this is a very good step that we're taking. But more than that, we need to do community research. We need to understand how is this disease presenting in our population, what are the symptoms, how are people reacting to it, and then publish and then communicate those results to the public. I mean, the only thing I will comment on this is that unfortunately, there's complete lack of leadership in this regard. Both from from the media, from the government, but also from the medical community. I think the only few names that I've seen take some level of responsibility. I know, my Aga Khan, where I went to medical school, they've taken the initiative of developing a support line for critical care physicians managing patients. So there are certain institutions that have taken some initiatives in this area, but for the most part, I've not seen medical colleges, which are supposed to be the harbingers of research and innovation, take much initiative, unfortunately. And that's a big, and I think this should give us pause. कि हमारी जो educational institutions हैं that should be leading the way, that should be paving the way for innovation, that should be paving the way for new ideas and research and original thought. None of them have really stepped up in this time of crisis, and that's very, very unfortunate.
Thank you so much for your input, Dr. Umair. Same for you, Dr. Ehsan. I think आप भी अमेरिका में हैं और आपने भी काफी रिसर्च में काम किया होगा, तो आपको क्या लगता है कि किस तरह से आप इस पॉपुलेशन में, पाकिस्तानी पॉपुलेशन में रिसर्च की इम्पोर्टेंस को हाईलाइट कर सकते हैं? सिर्फ ये नहीं कि भाई दवाई खाओगे और आप ठीक हो जाओगे, दैट्स नॉट द ओनली आंसर टू एवरी क्वेश्चन, राइट? तो मतलब प्रिवेंटिव मेजर्स की इम्पोर्टेंस, रिसर्च की इम्पोर्टेंस को कैसे इम्प्लीमेंट कराया जाए? पब्लिक हेल्थ, आई मीन आई वर्क फॉर पब्लिक हेल्थ रिसर्च, और मेरी तो नौकरी किसी को समझ ही नहीं आती। अच्छा क्या करती हो? पढ़ाई करती हो बैठ के सारा दिन मतलब, so you know I have to explain how important this is, so how would you answer that?
So in past few months, I can see that most of the organizations or the authorities like NIH, CDC, WHO, they have come up as a separate COVID-19 entities. They have separate different groups which are running only COVID-19 related studies. The idea to do that is so that we can have a focused study. हम जो हमारे पास कोविड-19 ग्रांट्स हैं, जो उनकी फंडिंग है वो एकदम बढ़ गई है, लोगों ने कोविड-19 की तरफ अपना रुझान कर लिया। बहुत लोग जो और इन्फेक्शियस डिजीजेस पे काम कर रहे थे और उनके पास ये स्किल्स थे कि दे कुड नो व्हाट वर्स कुड हैपन विद दिस वायरस, उन्होंने भी अपने आप को रीडायरेक्ट किया ताकि दे कैन वर्क इन इट। अनफॉर्चुनेटली पाकिस्तान में रिसर्च का जो एक स्ट्रक्चर है वो इट्स नॉट स्ट्रॉन्ग इनफ के वो बेसिक जो हमारे पास कम्युनिटी लेवल या सोशल लेवल स्टडीज हैं वो कंडक्ट करते हैं कि वो अब इस लेवल पर आए, क्योंकि इसके अंदर भी मल्टीपल स्टडीज के लेवल्स हैं। एक ना सिर्फ इंसानों का बिहेवियर्स के ऊपर है बल्कि इट वुड गो अप टू द बेसिक लेवल, जहाँ पे वहाँ पे बेसिक लेवल के अंदर के हाउ वायरस इज वर्किंग, और इसके अंदर मल्टीपल लेवल्स हैं। आउटकम्स के ऊपर है, हमारे पास डिफरेंट ऑर्गन्स जो बॉडी के वो कैसे रिएक्ट कर रहे हैं, हमारे पास कौन सी कैपेसिटीज हैं जो हमारे पास हैं और कौन सी हमें बिल्ड करने की जरूरत है। हमने एक जर्नल पिक्चर से निकल के ज्यादा फोकस पिक्चर पे आना है। जैसे डॉक्टर मेहर ने कहा है, वी नीड नॉट टू कॉपी पेस्ट अदर स्टडीज। हमें आदत रही है, हमारा एक स्ट्रक्चर ऐसा रहा है, हमारा जो मेडिकल एजुकेशन का सिस्टम है वो ऐसा रहा है कि किताबें दूसरों की देख ली, एविडेंस दूसरों का देख लिया, सब कुछ दूसरों के साथ करके वी हैव नेवर कम अप विद our own evidence. क्योंकि whenever you do the research, the basic point from where you start is the structure of the population. हम totally different है, हम we are not Caucasians, we are not Hispanics, लेकिन हमारे पास जितनी studies इस वक्त आ रही हैं अमेरिका से, they are usually on African Americans, on Caucasians and on Hispanics. हम उन्हीं चीजों को पकड़ के फिर इधर यूज करने लग जाएंगे, जो कि बिल्कुल गलत है। आपको you have to create your own evidence. This is the most important thing. और इसमें आपको रिसर्च एक अलग ग्रुप के तौर पे लेके उसको आपको you have to tie in with the clinical sciences. ये एक और टाइम है जहाँ पे आई थिंक कि हमारा पूरा मेडिकल एजुकेशन और मेडिकल रिसर्च जो है वो अडैप्ट कर सकते हैं। दिस इज द राइट टाइम एंड इट कुड बी अ न्यू, टोटली अ न्यू डायमेंशन टू एक्सप्लोर फॉर फिजिशियंस फ्रॉम द मेडिकल स्टूडेंट्स लेवल। कुछ मेडिकल कॉलेजेस हैं जिन्होंने इसके ऊपर इनिशिएटिव लिया है, वो कर रहे हैं, लेकिन यू नो अगर if you only want to stay at a level where you just want to know how people are reacting, that could help you make certain interventions, but at a larger scale आपको मुख्तलिफ branches जो हैं which are related to infectious diseases उन सारों को देखना पड़ेगा। पाकिस्तान अभी बहुत basic level पे हाँ कोशिश कर रहे हैं, and I'm glad कि there are few professionals who really want to make a difference. You know that you just don't have to make that intention, but you also have to make certain actions. और उन जो actions के ऊपर बात आती है, तो अभी हम लोगों के पास we are at a basic level, we are ready to adapt, and I hope कि हम adapt करें over the time. फिलहाल to sum up the research part, I think हम लोगों ने सारी जो research site कर रहे हैं वो या तो वो site कर रहे हैं जो कि west से आ रही हैं पाकिस्तान में, या हम उनके ऊपर बात कर रहे हैं जो कि नॉन पेयर रिव्यूड हैं, यानी कि दे आर नॉट गॉन थ्रू एन एक्सपर्ट ओपिनियन इन लेमन टर्म, कि उनको सही तरीके से नहीं देखा गया। तो अगर अभी किसी से को पूछे कि व्हाट इज द स्टेटस ऑफ पेशेंट्स इन लाहौर, कराची, इस्लामाबाद, कोयटा, पेशावर, वी डोंट नो। हमें नहीं पता कि हमारे कौन से जो हैं वो ज्यादा पेशेंट एग्रेसिव हैं, तो उनके अंदर कौन से सिम्टम्स हम देख रहे हैं। हमने एक जनरल लाइन पकड़ ली है which is coming from west, और हम उसी के ऊपर देख रहे हैं। This is the right time that physicians and medical students, they should step in research, start learning, and just not learn it, but also publish so that international community can see what is going on in Pakistan. I'm sure कि उसमें चीजें change होगी क्योंकि we are in a low middle income country. We have certain limitations. Keeping in mind those, we have to adapt accordingly, and then keeping in mind our resources, हम उसको देखते हैं. It's just not we all step into research, and it's not like we start taking others research by only copy paste. हमें खुद आना पड़ेगा, हमें खुद देखना पड़ेगा, और हम ये एक learning process है. Nobody knows the final word, and in this scenario specifically with code, nobody is an expert. Isko log seekh rahe hain, and it will take some time. Hopefully we survive out of it, and inshallah Pakistan kuch behtar tarike se react.
Inshallah. Thank you for what Dr. Ahsan
was saying, I think very lightly saying, हमारे यहाँ एक तो research होती नहीं है, या अगर होती है तो unfortunately even the students do it for the sake of doing it,
for the degree, just to get over with it.
So I'm finishing my master's in global e-health from University of Edinburgh. I got Commonwealth scholarship for it, and it's a distance learning program. So can you imagine, मेरा पूरा thesis उन्होंने 2021 में shift कर दिया, because they were like, this has to be done in the most proper way. You have to do face-to-face interviews. अभी COVID situation में ये हो नहीं सकते thesis. आपने इस तरह से इसको plan करना है. And when while I was going through the preparation for the thesis, और मैं compare कर रही थी उन लोगों से who have kind of done equivalent degrees from Pakistan, I realized that the thesis that many people do in Pakistan is only for the sake of कि बस degree मिल जाए. And I think there's a lot of resource that's wasted this way. क्योंकि बहुत सारी यूनिवर्सिटीज ग्रांट्स देती हैं रिसर्च के लिए, थीसिस के लिए ग्रांट्स मिल रही होती हैं, बट अनफॉर्चुनेटली मैंने ये देखा है कि वो टू इट्स मैक्सिमम पोटेंशियल यूज नहीं हो रही होती. एक तो ये बड़ी लैकिंग है. दूसरी बड़ी लैकिंग जो मुझे लगती है कि हमारे यहाँ डेटा सेंट्रलाइज नहीं है. सो फॉर एग्जांपल जो पेशेंट सेहत कहानी की आपको यूज करें, वो सिर्फ सेहत कहानी के पास डेटा है. जो पेशेंट आ खान जा रहा है वो आ खान का डेटा है, जो पेशेंट इंडस जा रहा है वो इंडस का डेटा है. एंड नो वन and even for those people who are unfortunately, for example, working in Khan or Indus, it becomes very difficult to be able to access their data for research. So वो बस हॉस्पिटल संभाल के रखते हैं, नहीं ये डेटा तो किसी को नहीं देंगे. वो अपनी इंटरनल टीम्स को भी एट टाइम मैंने देखा है कि नहीं रिसर्च करने दे रहे होते, which I think is very unfortunate. So I think we as a nation need to really bring on good studies. हमारे यहाँ the kind of patients that Indus, Khan, Ziauddin, Shifa and all of these hospitals are seeing, there's so much knowledge that they can share and give back. But I think we all need to collectively come together. We all need to make sure the resources are spent in the right manner so that proper, authentic, peer-reviewed studies can actually come out.
नहीं, ये आपने तो मेरे दिल की बात कर दी है, और इसी पे जो है we'll end this session. It has been very wholesome. I've learned a lot personally, और I'm sure जितने लोगों ने ये सुना है या जो इसके बाद अभी सुनेंगे भी, उनके लिए भी ये काफी beneficial साबित होगा. So thank you for coming on board for this discussion. I'm really grateful to all of you for taking time out, and thank you to Collabs for organizing this. It has been wonderful. Thank you guys.
Thank you very much, Noor, and thank you Ahsan and Dr. Zafar.
Thank you, Mahid. Thank you.
Thank you so much, guys. We'll end this session now.